Hi, welcome to Raw Math. Today I'm doing a series of videos on this exam review, and this is the last question. Find the inverse of the following matrix. All right, to find an inverse of a matrix, the first thing you need to do is write the matrix as an augmented matrix with an identity matrix on the other side. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to write that really tiny identity matrix right here with the bracket. It's important to put that bracket there. I'm going to do the first mapping there because I'm cheating. I'm cheating big time. I'm cheating big time because I've been doing this for like an hour and I'm tired. Yes, I know. I wouldn't take off points if my students did that. So I'm going to cover up all of this stuff that we don't really need. All of this pink paper. Okay, so when you're doing an inverse, when you're doing Gaussian elimination, when you're doing any of this stuff with pivoting, you really need to focus on one column at a time and focus on your zeros. You can get your ones later, divide later. For now, we are focusing only on our zeros. And when I focus on my zeros, all I really want to do is use this 1 to zero out that 5 and zero out that -3. So I'm going to keep row 1 as is. That's all good and happy. And if I want to get rid of that 5, I'm going to do 5 times row 1 minus row 2. I use subtraction because the signs are the same. And so if I do 5 times 1, which would be 5, 5 minus 5 is 0. If I want to use this 1 to zero out this -3, I'm going to do 3 times row 1 plus row 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 minus 3 is 0. I add because the signs are different. I ignored everything else. I only care about this one column. I'm now going to do the math of those two mappings. Again, I didn't do any mappings on the first row because I didn't need to. So 5 times row 1 is going to be 5, -5, -15, 5, 0, 0, minus row 2. And I always multiply through by a negative and then add down. I don't subtract. If you subtract, you might subtract the first few numbers. You're not going to subtract all 6. So just multiply through by the negative and add down. You'll be much more successful. So -5, -2, -1, 0, -1, 0. I get a 0, a -7, a -16, 5, -1, 0. So I've just added those or subtracted those two. And then the next mapping, I have 3 times, and this is going to go to row 2. All right, so 3 times row 1, 3, -3, -9, 3, 0, 0, and row 3, -3, -1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, -4, -9, 3, 0, 1. And this is going into row 3. So then I rewrite my next matrix. Row 1 did not change. 1, -1, -3, 1, 0, 0. Row 2 is 0, -7, -16, 5, -1, 0. And row 3 is 0, -4, -9, 3, 0, 1. So some of the challenges I find in doing this is making sure I have enough room to write, but not too much room to waste paper. Making sure I do all the math correct. It gets to be a lot of little computations, so it's easy to make a mistake. Right now, I have my zeros. The 1 is nice. It's probably not going to stay. I don't care. I don't care about the 1. The 1 is not important to me. I don't divide. I don't go to fractions. We can divide later. I care about those zeros. My next thing is I'm going to pivot on this -7 to zero out the 1 and the 4. I only care about the zeros. The ones will come later. I can get the ones later. I'm going to cover up all of this. I'm going to cover up the column I just zeroed out. I am wanting to focus literally just on this one column. That's all you should focus on, is the -1, the -7, and the -4. To get rid of the -1, I'm going to do 7 times row 1 minus row 2. I'm subtracting because the signs are the same. Row 2, I am not going to change in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to leave it just as it is. To get rid of that -4, I am going to do 7 times row 3 minus 4 times row 2. I subtract because the signs are the same, so I just brought that 7 down to row 3 and the 4 up to row 2, and I will get a 0. Okay, so that is my mappings, that is my plan, that is what I'm going to do, and this is now the only matrix I care about. Okay, there we go. So 7 times row 1 is 7, -7, -21, 7, 0, 0. And minus row 2 is 0, 7, 16, -5, 1, 0. 7, 0, -5, 2, 1, 0. This is all going to go into row 1. Then 7 times row 3 is 0, -28, -63, 21, 0, 7, and -4 times row 2 is 0, 28, 64, -24, 0. 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 7. And this is all going into row 3. So my new row 1 is 7, 0, -5, 2, 1, 0. Row 2 I didn't change. 0, -7, -16, 5, -1, 0, and my row 3 is 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 7. It's kind of a beautiful row 3. I got this 1 there. Didn't plan on it, but I will take it quite happily. So again, I am going for these zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0. I now need 2 more zeros and my journey is complete. I'm going to pivot. I pivoted here, I pivoted here. I'm now going to pivot right there. So again, ignore all of that. It's where I'm trying to build out. Ignore all of this. All I'm going to worry about is that 3rd column, that one I'm pivoting on. So I'm going to do row 1 plus 5 row 3. I'm going to do row 2 plus 16 row 3. And row 3 is beautiful. I'm just going to leave row 3 as is. It is done. There is a 0, 0, 1 in row 3. We are so happy about that. Okay, so we are going to shift this up because that is exactly the matrix we are going to worry about and the only one we're going to worry about. Okay, so row 1, ooh, sorry about hitting the camera. Okay, so row 1 is 7, 0, -5, 2, 1, 0. 5 times row 3 is 0, 0, 5, 5, 25, 35. 7, 0, 0, 7, 21, 35. Now, I do want this to be a 1 in our very last step. That is something we want. We want an identity matrix on the left, so I am going to divide this by 7 at this point to get 1, 0, 0, 1, 3, 5. It is our final destination, so it is worth doing it at this point. Then we are going to do row 2, which is 0, -7, -16, 5, -1, 0, and 16 times row 3, which is 0, 0, 16, 16, 64, and 112. So 0, -7, 0, 21, 63, and 112. Once again, because our ultimate goal is 0, 1, 0 for our middle row, we're going to divide by -7 to save ourselves from having to write as many matrices. We are going to get 0, -1, 1, 0, -3, -9, and -16. So our first row, let's write all this over here. Our first row is 1, 0, 0, 1, 3, 5. Our second row is 0, 1, 0, -3, -9, -16. And our last row is 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 7. Honestly, if I'm writing this as a quiz or an exam or an assessment, I'm going to finalize it. If you come all the way back up to the top, you see that our matrix is named A. So what am I going to do? Because I kind of like full points at all times, I am going to say A inverse, that's what we're solving for, is 1, 3, 5, -3, -9, -16, 1, 4, 7. This is how I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to leave it in this form. This is our solving form. I'm going to leave it in that form. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed this series of videos showing how I haven't put the points, how I would point everything out, but how an exam would be written. The last 3 questions were actually added later as extra review, but outside of the last 3 questions, this was all an exam and how an exam could be put together on these 3 topics of linears, matrices, and linear programming. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been helpful. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.